The United States military is currently being run by a Secretary of Defense who treats classified combat information like a group chat with his friends. We are talking about Pete Hegseth, who was just caught in a high-stakes investigation for texting the exact launch times of F-18 fighter jets on an unclassified signal chat while they were flying into enemy territory. This isn't just a security lapse, it is a direct threat to the lives of our pilots and a massive violation of Department of Defense regulations that could land any other service member in military prison. Representative Seth Moulton absolutely grilled Hegseth in a hearing that exposed the secretary's total refusal to take accountability for his actions. Moulton cornered Hegseth on whether the information he leaked came from Central Command and if it was marked as classified. Instead of a direct answer, Hegseth tried to hide behind the success of the mission, essentially arguing that if no one died this time, the rules don't apply to him. Let's watch the moment Seth Moulton exposes Hegseth's signal leaks and the shocking hypocrisy of a man who is firing generals for accountability while refusing to take any himself.
Command under which this operation occurred.
Well, everybody knows the command.
Okay, so everyone knows the Central Command. So when Central Command sent you this information, did they send it on a classified system or an unclassified system?
Well, as you know, having served yourself, any way that the Secretary of Defense communicates or provides information in and of itself is classified and not to be discussed.
So what was the classification marking of the launch time when it was sent to you? Because DOD regulations require information on classified systems to be marked.
What was the classification mark time?
Yeah, what was the classification marking? Because
again, classifications of any information in an ongoing operation that was successful are not things that would be disclosed in a public forum.
You can very well disclose whether or not it was classified. It's not classified to disclose whether or not it was classified. And in fact, DOD regulations state that any classified information has to be labeled with its classification. Was it classified secret or top secret?
What's not classified is that it was an incredibly successful mission against the Houthis.
Okay, so it was classified. So are you trying to say that the information was unclassified?
I'm not
okay,
trying to say
that's what
anything.
I thought. You're not saying that. So you took classified information from Central Command that had a classification marking on it, because that's what's required by DOD regulations, and you put it on an unclassified system. So we're going to get a report in a few days from the DOD Inspector General. And if the DOD Inspector General finds what is pretty obvious, both to you smiling there in the witness seat and to all of us up here, that the information was, in fact, classified, do you plan to take any accountability for that?
As I pointed out at the time,
you said that accountability is back. Does that not apply to you?
As I said at the time, Congressman, there were no names, targets, locations, units, routes, sources, methods, no classified information.
Okay, so if it comes back that it is classified, will you take accountability or not? You've already admitted that it was classified because everything you get from CENTCOM is classified. You just explained that to me. That's how you justified not answering the question.
Not what I said. I didn't confirm any classification or
okay, so if it is
what
confirmed,
I know is that
will you take
everything I
accountability?
share, everything I talk about,
Mr. Secretary, does accountability apply to you or not?
Is classified whether I talk or not.
Does it apply to you or not?
Does what apply to me?
Accountability. You said accountability is back at the Secretary.
And you know what? The Houthis were held accountable for shooting at our
I'm
ship
just asking if it applies to you.
very successfully.
I'm not asking about the
previous
Houthis.
administration let our ships get shot at, and nothing was done about it. And thankfully, because of the skill and courage of our troops on the battlefield,
I'm just asking about
we
I reclaim my
put
time.
them in a place where
I reclaim
they
my time.
called for a ceasefire.
I reclaim my time. I'm just asking if accountability applies to you. It's a very simple question. We use leadership by example.
Of course. Unlike, I serve at the pleasure of the president like everybody else does.
So it only applies to the president, not to you.
I serve at the pleasure.
You talked about the success of the Houthi operation. About how much money did it cost? How much money did you spend on missiles shooting at the Houthis?
Well, you'd have to compare that with what it cost.
I'm just asking how much did it cost?
Divert our shipping lanes around.
I'm told it's several $100 million, maybe close to $1 billion. How many U.S.-flagged commercial ships have transited the Red Sea since your so-called successful operation?
Well, thankfully, unlike the previous administration,
the answer is zero.
Military vessels transit.
No. I didn't ask about military vessels. I asked
which would
about
be the
commercial
precursor
vessels.
for
how many commercial vessels?
Transit.
It's been several weeks. How many commercial vessels, U.S. flagged, have transited the Red Sea?
Would you, Mr. Congressman, put civilian ships
The
through
questions
dam
are not to me,
for military
Mr. Secretary.
ships?
They're to you.
We have responsibly put military
The answer
ships
is zero.
through first.
I reclaim my time. How many generals and admirals have you fired?
I don't know the exact number. But
You don't know the number. It's 8. Can you explain why any of them were fired? Like, just explain, why was the Army JAG fired? Why did you fire him?
They all serve at the pleasure of the president, and I think
No, I'm just asking you why.
General Kane is a great example.
I'm just asking
of a
you
leader
why.
that we
And
need
you
at
probably
this
learned
time.
at Princeton what why means. Why did you fire him?
They serve at the pleasure of the president, and we
Why
want better
did you
representation
fire
in
him?
each and every of those.
You can't
each and
explain
every
why
one
you
of those
fired any of
places.
them?
Did you see how Hegseth smirked while being asked about putting pilots' lives at risk? He admitted that everything he gets from Central Command is classified, which means he knowingly moved top-secret combat data onto a private, unclassified app. When Moulton asked if he would take accountability if the Inspector General finds he broke the law, Hegseth's only response was that he serves at the pleasure of the president. In other words, he believes he is untouchable as long as he has a friend in the White House. The breakdown of this combat leak is even more infuriating when you look at Hegseth's purge of the military leadership. While he's leaking launch times on Signal, he has already fired 8 generals and admirals, including the Army JAG. When asked why they were fired, he couldn't give a single professional reason other than they serve at the pleasure of the president. He is decapitating the military's experienced leadership while demonstrating an astonishing lack of judgment with our most sensitive secrets. What we're watching is the total civilianization of military intelligence for personal glory. Hegseth wants to brag about successful strikes on social media so badly that he's willing to compromise the routes, sources, and methods that keep our troops safe. He's spending hundreds of millions of dollars on missiles, while US-flagged commercial ships are still too afraid to transit the Red Sea. It's all PR, no strategy, and zero accountability. If you believe that the Secretary of Defense should follow the same security rules as every other soldier, and that our pilots shouldn't have their launch times leaked on private apps, you need to stay tuned. Subscribe now for the coverage that demands real accountability from the Pentagon. Hit like and share this video because the DOD wants this Signal scandal to stay encrypted. We're gonna keep leaking the truth.